But let's go to this group, which is driving me a little bit mad.
I bet it is.
Italy and Norway.
Yeah.
I was there. I traveled to Udine for the Italy-Israel match.
How was it?
The whole thing was surreal. So the whole city was under massive lockdown. And the reason being is obviously with the Gaza situation, there were demonstrations and general strikes in Italy. And some of them, there's always a minority who joins in. Most were peaceful, but there's always a minority that joins in into these groups, and then at the end, kind of like tries to break away and breaks things. So this is flagged as an at-risk game. So that's why they decided to play the game in Udine, which is in the far northeast of Italy, far away from everything. Out-of-town stadium next to the motorway, easy to police. There were snipers on roofs. I mean, in the end, it was just a weird atmosphere to play in, especially when you're Italy and you know that you are probably heading to the playoffs unless Norway drop points against Estonia later, which is extremely unlikely. So you just wanted to get the game done. They played against Israel. They won 3-0. I'll tell you what. Oh, that was another thing. It's stadium only a third full because you had the mayor of Udine telling people to stay home.
Right.
That the game should be played, blah, blah, blah. Again, big political backdrop to this.
Yeah.
But we're going to keep it to the football. You could tell it was nervy. Matteo Retegui opening the scoring kind of via penalty at the end of the first half.
Yeah.
And that kind of sent Italy on their way.
Yeah. Amazing second goal. Matteo
Retegui's a bit special, isn't he?
Yeah, very.
So what did you make of it? Because we're talking beforehand, right? If you look at the Italy lineup in that game, I mean, there was no Bastoni and there was no Moiscan who's been on fire.
Yeah.
But I think to myself, like, these are
proper players. Proper players.
Yeah.
I looked
Except for Locatelli, who you don't like.
No. My beef with Locatelli stems from about 10 years ago because I loved him at Sassuolo, and I always thought he was like, and I'll say this very loosely, he was like a Frank Lampard. He got in the box and scored goals for anyone that's not seen him. Then he went to Juve, and they sort of converted him into a number 6, a sort of Pirlo sort of ball striker, sprayer,
without the vision.
Which you can do, and I always want that little bit more from him. But I looked at the Italian team, and I thought, like, proper players. Like, there's no weaknesses whatsoever. Fantastic midfield.
This is the weird thing about World Cup qualifying. And that's how I'm going to get your view because people are going to accuse me of being biased, and maybe I am. But Italy are ranked number 10 in the world. 48 teams qualify for the World Cup.
Yeah.
Italy in their history have never been, the lowest they've ever been ranked is 21st.
Yeah.
And yet they missed out on the last 2 World Cups. That's just the nature of World Cup qualifying the way it is.
She might as well just put Italy down for a playoff.
I mean...
So she might as well sack off all the games, but Italy playoff.
It feels that way because they lost to Norway 3-0 early on in this process. Even if they beat Norway in the return leg, which is going to be in November, they have to make up a 16-goal difference over those 2 games. Which either that or Norway, as I said, somehow fails to beat Estonia.
Who've been on fire. No, Norway.
Yeah, Norway's been on fire. So when you look at Norway, when we hear from Jan Åge Fjørtoft, he obviously leans towards the center, the big, tall center forwards, for obvious reasons. But yeah, Haaland, Sorloth, the only living Sorloth in captivity, who's, by the way, with his feet, has been fantastic. On top of that, they've got Antonio Nusa.
Yeah.
Odegaard wasn't there, but he's coming back. But he'll come back. I'm not sure he'll make it for the November internationals. I mean, last night Shaka on the FC show in his power rankings, he put Norway at number 6.
Oof.
How does the teams qualify for the World Cup? Is it too much?
From Jan?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry.
No. Shaka did.
Oh, Shaka did. Sorry. I mean, Shaka checks his algorithms, doesn't he? He seems to heavily bank on them. Do you know what my takeaway watching Norway off the back of watching Sweden shambles is? It just goes to show if you can put a team together, what they can achieve rather than individuals, and that's what I think Norway are. They've got brilliant, obviously 3 or 4 or 5 individuals. Oscar Bob's another one. But they're not a group of players you look at on the paper and go, every single one of them jumps off the page.
No, and especially at the back, and of course defending, on paper, it's not the same quality as strikers. No. That's what happens to smaller countries. And I'm going to ask you about that. Of course, you played for Scotland, comparable in some ways, and we're going to break this down further on the Gab and Juls podcast. So Don, I want to stick with Norway a little bit because you've had this direct experience, and I'm saying this in the nicest possible way. When you have, I think this is just statistics, right? When you have larger countries you can have the superstars, and then you will have a supporting cast that, because you got more players to choose from, that will generally be of a higher standard.
Yeah.
What you see with countries like Norway or Scotland, where you played with, you might have had some players who are world class. Wales a few years ago.
Well, Wales is a great example from when I played, when you had Ryan Giggs, Mark Hughes, Dean Saunders, Neville Southall. They were the sort of four big boys.
Or even bringing it closer to our target audience time-wise.
Gareth Bale.
You can mention Gareth Bale. Playing
Aaron
with
Ramsey.
Aaron Ramsey when Aaron Ramsey was at his best.
Yeah.
And like Joe Allen, for example.
Yeah.
And then with that, you had guys who maybe played in the second or third flight.
Yeah.
You had that with Scotland, where you're playing with guys like John Collins and stuff.
Barry Ferguson,
and then other players.
Yeah, coming from smaller teams or coming from a division below. To be honest, Gab, when you're in it, you don't really think about these guys who are playing for teams either in the bottom of the league that you're playing in or the first division, second division. You don't think that way. Like, I know people from the outside do, and they go, "Oh, well, he plays for Celtic, he plays for Rangers, but he might play for a team that's just in the lower leagues, or how has he got a call up?" You don't treat your teammates that way. I get from the outside.
I know you don't treat them right,
and you don't look at them that way neither.
But when you're training with your club, there is a certain basic standard, right?
I get that.
When you go with a national team, you have to adjust because your center half,
of course.
You may need to give him a very clean pass every single time. Otherwise, he's going to stumble over the ball.
Yeah.
Can you just talk? Was that an adjustment you experienced?
No, because I think you've got to trust them. And I know what you mean. Like the obvious and the smart thing to do would be give someone a really easy ball to try and deal with. But then that doesn't improve the standard. So what you want to try and do is keep the intensity up and bang that ball into him. If he can't control it, then it's his fault. If he gives the ball away, it's his fault.
Yeah, because you lose 1-0 and you don't go to the World Cup, which is why you didn't qualify for the World Cup.
Well, I don't think Scotland are going to win the World Cup. But you can't just go like, I'm playing for Liverpool, he's playing for, I don't know, Hearts or someone, so I'll give him an easy ball to deal with. You've got to try and keep the standards high.
It's funny because this is a question that I like asking people. I've asked it of many people in that situation, including Jan. Who in his day.
No, Jan, you had to adjust your team to play with. Jan, you had to. I played with him at Sheffield United, so there's no point in the channel ball for Jan. You got it into his feet.
The way it was described to me too, and I've talked both to people who are, quote unquote, lesser players who played with 2 or 3 great players for the national side. It was also the adjustment that if you're playing with a guy who's a phenomenal passer, for example, he can see a pass.
Yeah.
Or you're not going to make the run because you say, well, there's no way he can get me the ball.
Yeah.
Right. And having to make that adjustment when you're playing with players like that. And I
think that's sort of fair. I think that there's probably a middle ground where you wouldn't want to make it very obvious that you're giving someone a really easy slow pass because you're more or less saying like you're not good enough to deal with it. You never think that way anyway, because as I said before, you want to keep the standards high. But there must be like a little adjustment. Which take Jan for example. Because I played with Jan at Sheffield United, like a fascinating teammate and a brilliant guy. But you couldn't play the ball down the channel and say, run after that, Jan, because you couldn't get there. Because
Jan was old at the time.
No, but Jan was brilliant at getting the ball into his feet. So for me, it was a dream because he was a centre forward. That was a dream, getting hold of the ball, linked all the midfield players together, linked the wide players together. That was his strength. Balls in the box, good in the air, fantastic ball in around his chest. But you wouldn't play. So I think what I'm trying to say is it doesn't matter what team you're playing in, you've got to try and find out the strengths which you should know already. But identify the weaknesses. That's the most important thing. Don't try and give someone a ball they can't deal with. Make sure you're playing to their strengths.
Doesn't this totally contradict what you said earlier about passing the ball?
No, but I mean that was more like the tempo of the game. Do you know what I mean? Like I said, but you wouldn't flip one over the top to Jan and go, get after that, Jan. Because he's come on. Okay. So but the tempo has to be sharp in training.
When it comes to this Norway team, I find it hard to judge them because I can judge them when they played against Italy and they absolutely battered Italy. And for me, that's obviously what cost Spalletti's job. Clearly unprepared. It looked to me like they looked at the game. Oh, they have all these tall guys that put Coppola in there for his debut and stuff because when we got tall guys too. And then, they got done on the counter several times and just completely unprepared. But then I look at these other teams in the group and Norway generally have their way with them. It's difficult for me to gauge because obviously you can only beat what's in front of you.
I mean, it helps when you got him as your centre forward.
It certainly does. And actually, that's another point. So if we assume that Norway's two best forwards are that guy, Erling Haaland, and the only living Sorloth in captivity.
Yeah.
Haaland is used to being up front on his own, to being the focus of everything.
Yeah.
Sorloth obviously does play in a front two with Atletico Madrid.
Yeah.
And, maybe, and he's got good feet, doesn't have Haaland's athleticism. But they still have to adjust because Haaland looks around and he's like, but what I'm saying is when Haaland plays for Norway, he's like, I don't have Bernardo Silva and Kevin De Bruyne when he was there and stuff like that, and Rodri getting.
But I bet he loves playing with Sorloth. I bet he loves it because he can take the burden off him. Because normally, as you said, with a Man City, he's playing up front on his own, touching the ball like 7 times.
Right. So the fact that in the midfielders, other than Odegaard and Sander Berg, nobody can really pass to that.
Bob from a wider area.
Right. Bob and Noose are wide, right?
Yeah.
So it's just it's an adjustment, I guess.
Oh no, massively. But I think if you asked Erling Haaland and you said what's it like playing with Sorloth, I think he'd say it's amazing. He's great in the air. He's physical. He can play the width of the box. He's got a good touch. He occupies defenders. Because I seen an interview with Erling Haaland a couple of weeks back when he got asked a question about hardly touching the ball and he didn't have an impact in the game. And his sort of response was, well, I can still have an impact on the game if I'm not touching the ball because I can move defenders around for other people.
Right.
Fine, because that's the modern game. I bet he loves playing with two up front. I bet he loves having a teammate up front like Sorloth who can take a lot of the weight off him. I bet he loves it.
Yeah, Manchester City should sign Sorloth.
There you go. Breaking news.
Breaking news. Viking duo up front.
Gyökeres and Isak.
All right, I want to turn it back to Italy because this is the creepy thing. And I am not superstitious. Many of my countrymen are. Many people in football are. And the thought that keeps me up, because of the very complicated seeding system in the playoffs, if Italy do end up in the playoffs, and I think there's a really strong chance they will, Italy will be drawn against either North Macedonia, who kept them out of the World Cup in 2022 via the playoffs. Yeah. Sweden, who kept them out of the World Cup in 2018 via the playoffs. Northern Ireland, who kept them out of the World Cup in 1958 via the playoffs. Or Romania, who there's no World Cup involved in this one, but in 1982, when Italy were world champions, they were drawn in a Euro qualifying group with Romania, and Romania.
So you ain't sleeping, doesn't matter who they get. Well, basically, the moral of that story.
Is this a thing, right?
No.
I don't know. Are you superstitious?
No.
But you've had a lot of teammates who were.
Probably. But I mean, when
they don't talk about it. You just
no, because as I like putting the boots on and putting your shin pads on, and it's like, read the program, have a massage, or have a bath, or have a shower, daft stuff. Right? I don't think you ever went into a game thinking like we're not going to win because of history. Players wouldn't look back at 1958, did you say? Yeah. 50, like players are not looking back that far.
Yeah, but if it's North Macedonia, I think everybody remembers 2022.
Well, I remember that, yeah. I do remember that. That was pretty embarrassing. Well, Gab, give me your take, because when I obviously commentate on Italian football, and I look at the Italian team, I'm going, how's this team, or how are these individuals not excelling? Because they've got a midfield to die for. They've got goal scorers, got fantastic defenders,
they're
good goalkeepers.
You mean as a team? Why don't
they? Yeah, why they find themselves in this bother?
I mean,
it was the midfielder today: Sandro Tonali, Barella, and Locatelli.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
So I think when you say they're not excelling, all right, they were terrible against Norway. That's one game with a coach who's no longer there, who completely misread everything and got everything wrong. In the other games, they won all their games.
Yeah.
Right?
Has Gattuso got this?
Well, he can't change. He can't undo the 3-0 defeat.
No, I know.
Norway,
I know that because when
I don't think what I think is interesting about Gattuso is he's not as good a coach as Spalletti or Mancini, who came before him.
Yeah.
I think he'd be the first. His managerial career reflects that.
Yeah.
So he tends to keep things simple. He doesn't go on these sort of tactical flights of fancy.
No, why would he? He's all about the passion.
Exactly. When he needs to, like when they played Estonia and won 3-1, he's like, all right, there's a remote chance that if we manage to score 7 or 8, we can sort out this goal difference thing. So I'm going to play next to strikers. We'll have the ball all the time. So, he goes and he plays Raspadori with Ken and Retegui. And that's fine. But he doesn't go and do weird things with his lineup or sophisticated things because I think he knows his limits.
Exactly. Right? Which is no bad thing.
Yeah, I think he's keeping it simple. There's a certain humility to it.
Yeah. And players sometimes like that. Players like to be kept simple.
Players like that.
Put us in a system, tell us what to do, away we go.
Yeah, his whole like 4-2-4 thing, which we're seeing more and more, by the way. I don't know if I want to promote it to a trend.
Which is basically 4-4-2.
Well, it depends.
From the 80s and 90s.
It depends of the instructions.
It's going full circle again.
Yeah.
4-2-2-2-2.
It's hard to invent anything in football, Don, as you know. But yeah, it does make me a little nervous. But I look.
Who do you want in those teams? I mean, I know you'd say Sweden because obviously they've just had an absolute shocker, but they're still got good players on paper.
I mean, look, it's very simple.
Especially if Graham Potter takes the job.
So they have to win that, and then obviously you don't just win that playoff because you get to play at home against that opponent. If you're a top seed, and Italy will be a top seed if they go to the playoffs, and then you play another game because it's like basically you've got 2 playoffs, and then you have to play a playoff final.
That was another one
4 days later.
Yeah, didn't know that.
Somebody else, and that's the big question mark. You know, when we think back to when Italy were knocked out by North Macedonia, which was a game that they absolutely battered them. I don't know what the XG were, but they were enormous. And then North Macedonia, if you remember, crazy shot from outside the box in injury time, and they're out. Had Italy advanced, you know, we speak of it as like, oh, Italy got knocked out of the World Cup. Had Italy advanced, they would have played Portugal.
Yeah, I remember that.
Who has that Cristiano Ronaldo guy? He's pretty good.
Yeah.
Not just him, but
I know what you mean.
So I don't think you can take anything for granted at this stage. My take is you're number 10 in the world. People say the FIFA rankings, they can be gained and so on. Well, you know,
can't prove it.
But when it comes to individuals, I think Italy are probably 10th to 12th, maybe. Yeah. They're in that range.
Yeah.
So the players are there.
Yeah.
The coach may not be phenomenal. Guess what? I don't think Didier Deschamps is a particularly good coach.
No, Jules always says that.
Coach either. I know.
Yeah.
So if they don't make it, so basically when you say, well, we don't control our destiny. No, you don't control your destiny in the group, but you do in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I think it's significant.
I think it's time. It's time when you look at this group of players now to step up and play like you're 10th in the world. Go and prove it.
Yeah.
Don't get knocked out in the playoffs.
And there's certain teams that simply don't run up the score. Because when you know how it is, when you play against Estonia or Moldova, if you score first, the most infuriating thing, and one of the reasons I think qualifying is often unpleasant, is if you're playing Andorra or San Marino, normally you would think, oh, look, we'll score straight away. And then they'll have to come at us.
I laughed because we went to San Marino when they were like San Marino, and I scored the winner in a 1-0 win away from home. And you'd think it should be like 9 or 10.
Well, but you say that, but like even if you'd scored in like the 3rd minute, and you would normally think at club level, okay, we're taking the lead, the other team's going to, they can't just sit.
Yeah.
No, but San Marino and Andorra, what they often like to do is for them losing 3-0 to France, oh, look, it's a victory.
Exactly.
Right? And I think the Nations League has partly changed that, and that's why the Nations League has been one of the best sort of innovations that we've had in international football. But Norway can keep battering you because they pump the ball in, they got the big guys and stuff like that, and Italy they just don't do that. And that's why that was such a big deal when they put 5 past, I think it was Estonia in qualifying. Whoa, look at this, So, yeah. All right, look, Italy have to earn it. Norway, I think, deserve to be there. I think Norway will win the group, and I think they deserve to be there. And I'm excited to see what Erling Haaland could do in a World Cup. All right, enough Italy, enough Norway, for now at least. How about some quick hits instead?
Let's do it.
England rolls with 5-0 away win over Latvia to seal their place at the World Cup. Don, I'm not going to lie. I harbored some Tuchel skepticism, not with him as a coach, but him in the international game. Him as a German looking after the English. But he hasn't really put a foot wrong.
Well, I don't know, Gab. I mean, you could manage England and get them out of the group. It's not just boring. I just think it's boring. I mean, what he's done is been quite good, but
scoring 3 goals a game.
You can't judge Thomas Tuchel on what he's going to be doing. He's been brought in to win England the World Cup. Let's see how he does then and see how the team do then. Well, you can't judge him and say like flawless, like no goals conceded, which is pretty good, pretty impressive. But I can't like lean on that and go like amazing, top draw, world class manager.
Do you like the way he's dealt with Bellingham?
Absolutely, I do.
Okay,
so that's good. Tick.
So tick that. The results you tick. Yes.
Yeah. I'm not being doom and gloom.
Magic up
I'm
more
not being doom and gloom. I'm just
hurt and Burns
no,
old,
but
right?
I'm just saying, have they been tested? And they will not be tested until they play in the World Cup. So that's when you'll find out if you can take it a yard further than Southgate.
For Scotland.
Japan stormed back from 2 goals down to beat Brazil, Gab, in a friendly. Your boy Carlo Ancelotti getting some stick?
Yeah, to the point that they had to remind everybody that he had a contract through whatever it is. I think people should chill.
Yeah.
It's a friendly game. They traveled halfway around the world. They played Korea. They look great against Korea. He makes a whole bunch of changes. I think the only holdovers were Vini, and then they had, and then weirdly the 2 older central midfielders, Casemiro and Bruno Guimaraes. But then Casemiro doesn't even play that often for Manchester United. So, yeah.
And it weren't really on him, was it? Because they played well first half and then had 90 minutes where they just buckled the team, didn't they?
Exactly.
And he sort of said that's on the players because them sort of 90 minutes could lose your World Cup.
Yeah, and I think for these players who played, who are, not assured of a spot, Paquetá maybe more so, but then you look at how he tried the front four, Martinelli, who
I find Brazil very weird.
It's weird.
But just because I look at and I know I got all my old hat and I see Zico and Adair and Socrates and all these boys, I'm going like, look at these lads. I don't know, it's just weird when I see these Brazilian boys playing, I'm like, just not the same, is it?
No, it's not the same as 1982.
I know.
No, the world has moved on a little bit.
I know.
Dominic Szoboszlai's late equalizer means Portugal will have to wait to secure their automatic place in the World Cup. But Cristiano Ronaldo scores twice in the 2-2 draw, breaking the record for goals in World Cup qualifying, which apparently is a thing. I think it belonged to Carlos Ruiz. And taking his all-time international goal total to 143, which is pretty absurd.
Amazingly. He's like amazing. I commentate on Saudi football and I still see him going at 40. I still see him banging them in, still doing it for his country.
And we're old enough to remember him when he was a fleet-footed winger who dribble and do tricks. He's reinvented himself. He plays a completely different position in a different style.
Yeah, he's reinvented himself in Saudi to make sure you sign João Felix and Kingsley Coman and Sadio Mane for all those guys behind you to get him some goals. But he's amazing though. How'd you criticise him at 40, still being in the shape that he's in? Like total dedication. The talent, he'll never lose the talent.
But what about playing center forward when you were a winger for the first? Is that not a big deal?
No, I don't think it is.
And the way he plays it, the way he uses his strength and his body.
I think it's easier. I think it's easier. I think there's positions that you can go back in. I found it when I was, a midfield player and you go back at centre half or right back and you can see the full picture. If you're Cristiano Ronaldo now, what you do is, Gab, you just play the width of the 18-yard box. Yeah, you don't track back. You don't run out wide.
No, that's fine. But you also have to play with your back to goal, which you haven't really done.
Yeah, but he's never going to lose his first touch. So that's something you don't lose. All right. And then if you've got the talent that he's got behind him, the fascination for me is in a big game, if he needs to be dropped, as Roberto Martinez.
Oh, we saw that in Qatar. We saw how that went.
Has he got the clout to drop him?
47 goals behind Christine Sinclair's international goal scoring
he's
record.
Amazing. Spain, one of the favourites, Gab, destroyed Bulgaria 4-0. Let me ask you about Samu Amradon, who I commentated on the Club World Cup in the summer. He got his first start. Is he, or could be the traditional centre forward they'd be missing?
Yeah, so when we look at Spain, I think we get into this rut about how, look, so much passing, blah, blah, blah. They don't have a real number 9 because, some people still believe Morata wasn't a real number 9 even in his pomp.
Right.
And so they have Oyarzabal there, who obviously is a different profile. And here you have this guy who's big and strong. He certainly gives you a different dimension. And I think that's important. And I think not a coincidence. He played that midfield of Merino, Zubimendi, and Pedri, which we saw in the last game against Georgia. To see how he could do. And look, he played a half. He got 5 shots off, 2 shots on target.
He's a handful.
He gives you that other dimension if he continues to grow. Don, we're not done because we have more quick hits.
Let's do it.
Your boy, Nick Voltemade, a.k.a. Voldemort,
fire,
scores the only goal as Germany went away to Northern Ireland. Don, this got a little hairy in the end. Will Germany be okay?
It got hairy. It was an unbelievable game. Northern Ireland pumped Germany the last half an hour of the game. Honestly, it was a proper test for the Germans. But imagine Voltemade in the air, Gab, like rising about 7-8 feet in the air, and it's like a bullet header right off his forehead, straight in the top corner. No. Just came off the top of his shoulder. Weird for a guy that's so tall and can jump who scores like goals off his shoulder.
And it's because it's not the first one he scored this year. I think last year was just the one-headed goal all season long.
Yeah.
It can get a little hairy because, so next games are Slovakia at home. They're level on points with Slovakia. Next games are Slovakia at home against Northern Ireland. Germany away to Luxembourg. You expect both teams to win.
Yeah.
And then it comes down to Germany against Slovakia in Germany.
I think Germany will be fine.
They could get tripped up.
They could. France can't, though. They'll have to wait a little bit longer to uncork the champagne. They drew 2-2 against Iceland without Killian.
Yeah, this wasn't great. This wasn't great at all. And look, it's fine. I mean, they'll be okay, we assume. We saw Mateta leading the line. We
Got
saw
his goal.
Nkunku.
Great goal. Great goal.
Nice goal there. They've got Ukraine at home coming up. They'll be okay. But Iceland, they're pesky, those guys. Lionel Messi returns to Argentina starting up front with somebody named Jose Lopez, who is not a winning contestant for a place in the Argentine national team, but a 24-year-old target man for Palmeiras in Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
He was making his debut. They beat up Puerto Rico in a friendly in Miami 6-0. Don, the bookies only have them as fifth favorites. Are they underrating the world champions?
I don't know.
I have them behind Brazil.
Yeah, I know, but when I look at Argentina, it's like, even though Messi's a genius, how long can he keep playing in a team that might have to carry him? How long can they carry Otamendi at the back? I do look at them and I think as parts of that team, I mean, this game was incredible. It was 6. It should have been 16. I mean, Messi was on fire, but he had a proper free roll, but it's hard to judge them, isn't it, when they're playing Puerto Rico? No disrespect.
Forget Messi, though. Look at that firepower. You just have Ballon d'Or Lautaro and then the Spider Alvarez up front. I mean, you have a lot.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sold. I think there's bits about them that are brilliant, but there's other little bits where I think, can you win a World Cup with certain bits?
Good for McAllister to get two
good goals.
Start at Liverpool, yeah.
2 good goals. Gab, the Premier League will vote on something called anchoring in November. What is it, considering I hate PSR?
Well, it's going to replace PSR.
Right.
All right, so let me explain it to you. Basically, it's a form of salary cap.
Yeah.
Essentially, they're going to look at the football squad costs, and football squad costs are basically their player wages, coaching staff wages, amortization, and agent fees paid by each club. You're going to see, right, who is the lowest?
Mm-hmm.
So in the Premier League this year, you would assume it might be Burnley, maybe Brentford, whatever. And then they would say, okay, so you can only spend 5 times as much as the lowest team in the division.
Right.
So right now there would be 4 clubs who are in breach of it. I'm assuming, I don't know who they are, but I'm assuming it's probably, I hazard a guess, the clubs with the high wage bills. So
yep.
City, Chelsea, United, maybe Arsenal. And you have to stay below that. And the argument against it is like, well, wait a minute, this puts us at a disadvantage towards clubs from other countries who can spend more money. It's got nothing to do with how much money you make.
It just seems messy, doesn't it? Seems all just...
Why?
I don't know, it just seems like a mess.
Well, I thought you would like it because...
I don't know, because I don't understand it for a start. I mean,
well,
I need to
understand it.
I need to get to know it to understand it. So what's it doing? It's stop. So if I refer, because I keep going back to Newcastle and Villa.
Funny that.
No,
yeah.
I know. It's just because the two teams that qualified for the Champions League over the last sort of 4 or 5 years, that in my opinion, seem to have been punished. Because you want them, with fair wind, to try and get closer to Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, etc. So it feels as though, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not allowing those to try and get closer to the Man Cities. It's bringing the Man Cities and the Arsenal closer to them.
Yeah, look, put very simply, right? Let's say the squad costs at the bottom, let's say, are 100 million, right? Yeah. Which I don't think is far off that. That would mean that your maximum would be 500 million.
Yeah.
So if Newcastle's squad costs right now are 300 million, they could spend an additional 200 million.
Yeah.
This replaces PSR, so they wouldn't be forced to make a profit, or they wouldn't have to stay within the PSR where you can only spend so much based on your revenue. So that's good. The flip side of this, though, is that financial sustainability rules are still in effect in Europe. So you have to comply with those as well. Yeah. So that would probably hamstring those clubs. For me, all this is about is almost every big club, with the exception of Real Madrid and Bayern, historically loses money. Everybody does. And I think you've got some owners who are like, yay, I'm a Man United fan, but I also running a business and I don't want to keep losing money every single year. And I think this is a way to keep costs down. Unsurprisingly, the PFA, the Players Union, is against it. I think some clubs like City are likely to be against it as well. So we'll see where this goes. But November 21st is the date, and I think they need 2/3 of the clubs, so at least 14 clubs, to vote in favor of it. Martin Odegaard will reportedly miss another 6 weeks for Arsenal. Don, we keep hearing about how deep Mikel Arteta's squad is.
Mm-hmm.
How big a test is this for the deeper squad? Who's his replacement?
Eberechi Eze. I think he'll step back in the midfield. My takeaway when I worked on that game, different player, but I mean, they've still got a brilliant squad. And my takeaway from that West Ham game when he got his injury, and it was a collision, I think it was Somerville at the time. And I remember saying, hopefully for Odegaard, it's just a bone-on-bone collision where in a couple of days' time, bone bruising, you could shake it off. Worst case scenario, it'd be your medial ligament. Well, that's the ligament that he's done. So he's probably looking at a couple of months. But you look at that squad, and the 3 players who started in midfield for Arsenal on the day got replaced in-game. So Calafiori got replaced by Lewis Skelly. I looked at the bench and I thought, this is the strongest bench Arsenal have ever had.
Lewis Skelly's a comp. I'm just not sure in that. I think Odegaard's really important, especially if Rice is there too. I would like to see, Jules has some doubts about whether that's as his best position. I would like to see Ethan Ranieri being given at least the opportunity to win the job.
I don't. I think Ranieri's a better player the higher up the pitch he goes. I look at Eze, I think you can play literally anywhere. You can play wide left, you can play 10, you can drop a little bit deeper. Sweden, we talked about them earlier on. Jon Dahl Tomasson's been sacked as Lani scores and Sweden lose a home game against Kosovo. 1 point from 4 games when you have Gyökeres and Isak. That's not acceptable, is it?
No, it's not. Shout out to Aslani, of course, who is kind of Italian. Yeah, it's not good. Jon Dahl Tomasson was Danish. They didn't understand his tactics. He's got a lot of bad mouthing in the press. He's accused of playing 3-5-2 to shoehorn those two together. I think it's pretty simple. Gyökeres missed a whole bunch of training this summer because he went on strike. Isak, we obviously know his story. I think they're paying a penalty for that. JDT, though, one of the nice guys in football. Sticking with Sweden, your boy Graham Potter, last seen at West Ham, has volunteered his services. He's willing to offer a discount on his salary. Would he be a good choice? Bearing in mind, he started out as a no-name in Sweden and came up through the ranks.
Yeah, done a good job at Östersunds, didn't he? I think he won a trophy with them, got them through the divisions. I think so. I think he's an intelligent guy. I think he's a good manager. I think that some of the jobs, especially the West Ham job that he had, he was just on a hiding to nothing because the squad he was left was very poor. I mean, granted, the style of football wasn't particularly good, but when you've got Gyökeres and you've got Isak, surely you can make that work. Gab! Paratici is back as sporting director at Tottenham. Your thoughts?
Yeah, he comes back alongside Johan Lange. He served his ban, obviously, over the false accounting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But what blew me away, look, I knew this because I do this stuff for a living, that he's been working all along for Spurs. He's been helping on deals and whatever. What I didn't expect, this is while he was banned, was to even come out and say that. He says, well, I've been working with Johan Vinay and Thomas Frank as a consultant for a number of months, and I now look forward to returning to London. Glasgow Rangers are still without a manager. On Monday, we reported about Michael Carrick and whatever. Steven Gerrard reportedly turned them down, but now his odds, weirdly, have shortened. So are we suggesting that maybe there's something bookies know that other people don't know?
Maybe Stevie's...
you're the biggest Rangers fan.
Well, maybe Stevie's
in this room right now. Also because I don't know... Well, I know our producer who's filling in today for Freddie, Mark, he's Irish, so I'm going to hazard a guess he's not a Rangers fan. So it's all you here.
All right. Well, maybe Stevie's compensation from Saudi's been sorted. Maybe his Rangers have put up some of the money. I don't know. I suggest if you're Rangers now, Derek McInnes has done a good job, by the way, who's still in the run and who's done a fantastic job at Hearts. I'm just at the point now where I think if you talk Glasgow Rangers and the size of that football club and you really want to be serious, go and get Rafa Benitez. Go and spend the money and go and get the best. Go and get an elite manager to make Rangers a proper football club again. That's my theory. Go and pay him. Go and pay whatever Rafa wants. You'll turn your club completely around.
Well, I was not expecting
exactly. That. You see? So you can go down the Derek McInnes route because doing a fantastic job. But if you really want to be elite, if you're Rangers Football Club and you want to be back at the top table or close to it.
While complying with PSR.
or anchoring, whatever it may be. Go and get Rafa. Go and spend the money. Be serious. Be a serious
instead of Stevie G.
Well, yeah. I mean, how'd you say no? Who stacks up better as a better manager, Stevie G? I'm a Stevie G fan, but come on, if you put Stevie G and Rafa at the table, it's Rafa.
I wonder if you know something. Okay,
I don't.
I'm gonna reveal something here. So a couple of weeks ago, I I was at the lounge at Heathrow's Terminal 5.
Oh, who you see? Who you see?
So I had a nice conversation with Rafa, Simon Jordan, and oh God, I'm blanking on his name. The guy who used to
Jim White?
No, Jim White.
Right.
Yes. And guess where they were going?
Go on.
They were going to Chris Boyd has a men's mental health charity.
Right.
They were all together. So Chris Boyd used to play for Rangers.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm adding. I don't know for a fact that they were going to Glasgow.
Your maths are quite good.
But yeah, do you know something we know?
No, I don't. I'm just going along the lines. If you want to be a proper football club, go and get the best man for the job.
No,
the best manager out there would be Rafa.
There you go.
There you go.
Sorry, Stevie.
Hadji Wright scores both goals as the United States beat Australia in a 2-1 win. But Christian Pulisic limped off, Gab, who's been on fire for Milan. They're not going to be happy, are they?
No, and look, nobody's happy when somebody gets injured in a friendly. This feels a whole other debate, which, like, I mean, I suppose you can pull a hamstring anytime. Right?
Yeah.
This isn't a case where he's playing through injury and whatever. And,
yeah.
So I don't think you can be hard on. You can criticize Pochettino for playing him.
Yeah.
But it is funny about how there is still a school of thought among some people in the U.S. that blame Pulisic for when he was recovering from his injury and not wanting to do the Gold Cup and whatever. And, last night on the show, I think Ali said something along the lines of like, oh, wait, but so Pulisic is supposed to never play because we have to keep him fit for the World Cup. I just don't know how much you learn from friendlies.
No, you can't.
And
you haven't got a crystal ball, have you? Because you could give Christian Pulisic an hour, he could score a couple of goals, could be great.
Exactly.
Pulls a hammy, it's like, what can you do if you poach?
For Milan, the good news is you have a lot of players.
Yeah.
Just none of them are Christian Pulisic, but Rafael Leao obviously closer to return, full fitness. Jimenez scored before the break. You've got Nkunku. You've got dudes.
You just mentioned Leao there, and I commented on the game when Allegri put him on. And I don't know if you've seen the clip where he shouted to Leao, "Don't make me angry. Don't make me," and he missed 2 sitters, and the jacket came off. It was hilarious. He actually did make him angry. What are UEFA up to, Gab?
Well, no, it's my question.
Sorry.
UEFA considering having a standalone group game to kick off the Champions League season involving the champions. So basically, we're at this year, since I believe Jules might have mentioned that Paris Saint-Germain won the Champions League. I'm not sure. The first game of the Champions League group stage, there would have been a standalone game, kind of to honor the champions, create some buzz, play that maybe a week before or whatever, them against whoever their group opponents would be.
I like it.
You like it?
I think so, yeah, because I always think the season starts.
Up a little bit?
I do always think when the season starts, it starts properly when the Champions League gets underway. And if you've seen, let's just take PSG for example, and they played Real Madrid or Liverpool, whoever, and it was like that game, come on, like we're off and running. Everyone would tune in.
There's a Super Cup, obviously, that they play, but because the Super Cup comes before, and obviously this season was pretty extreme where Paris Saint-Germain treated it as like a preseason, or you could see they weren't fully fit. Yeah,
But you'd watch it, right? If it was like
I would watch
the two top sides playing against each other to get it underway.
Yeah,
I'd
totally.
watch it. Let's turn to Africa, Gab. As the group stages come to an end, Senegal, Ivory Coast, South Africa, they've all qualified automatically, as has Cape Verde. Quite a story.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we need to name check the others. South Africa, despite the points penalty, they beat Rwanda 3-0. They're through. Senegal, we know what's going to happen, beat Mauritania 4-0. And Ivory Coast beating Kenya 3-0. Familiar names, superstars. I like underdog stories, but I also want the big boys to be there. Cape Verde is a completely different story. Just over 500,000 people. They did a really good job. Jules explained this a little bit. I mean, they beat Eswatini, who the artist formerly known as Swaziland, I believe, 3-0. They decided to dip into the diaspora of Cape Verdean, people of Cape Verdean descent who've gone elsewhere, different European countries and whatnot. Brought a lot of those guys back. This is a country of just over 500,000 people. As of right now, until Curacao qualifies, and we'll see what happens there, but they would be the second smallest country to ever qualify for a World Cup. After, who was the smallest?
Go on.
I'll give you a hint. They're not very imaginative with their last names, and it's cold, and they have volcanoes.
I don't know, Gab.
Iceland.
Iceland.
The Times report that Roma are considering taking Joshua Zirkzee on loan this January. Don, are you one of the haters who thinks he has no place at Manchester United whatsoever?
No, I just think he's another player at Man United that's his confidence is just being eroded, shot to bits. He's not played that well, but I think somewhere like Roma, he could go and play. Probably a replacement, and I'm not saying, like for like, but Dybala, who's struggling with injuries. Maybe they think they can get something out of Xerxes coming short because they've got Dovbyk, they've got Ferguson, they've got number 9s that they can rely on. Xerxes something different. You can bring him off the bench and he can do something.
Wait, let's see. So Xerxes, despite being big, tall, and strong,
Xerxes big, tall, and strong.
Certainly big.
I wouldn't have put him in that. I wouldn't have put him in that bracket.
He's certainly not somebody to play center forward. He's somebody who plays
number 10
behind the two strikers, right?
That's what I mean.
And United spent all this money on Cunha and Mbumo.
Well, they're better players.
And Ahmad.
They're better players.
Yeah, all right. Then Xerxes? All right.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, well, we'll see. I mean, I think
do you know what? He'll
I'll
go
tell you
away.
what, he is a more natural fit for that number 10 role at United. I mean, he's got other issues. He's
not getting in that team.
All right, no, that's fine. But I'm saying, I guess with no European football, you don't need him because obviously you have Ahmad there. It's also probably where Bruno Fernandes should be playing.
Exactly.
He's got to play midfield because nobody else can pass the ball. So a lot for United to sort through.
Back to Africa, Gab. Your boys Nigeria made it through, skin of their teeth.
Oh yeah. So this was drama, as he mentioned. They had to beat Benin. They also had to keep an eye because to go to the playoffs, which is what they've qualified for, and they're going to play Gabon. They had to get a better goal difference than Burkina Faso, and they made it because the only reason they made it is because Frank Onyeka scored in injury time, which means they're one better. Prior to Frank Onyeka, do you want to take a guess who scored a hat-trick?
Victor Osimhen.
The best is yet to come. That's right, Victor Osimhen. You know what? It makes my skin crawl that we've talked about Gyökeres, and we had to talk about we're going to talk about Sesko later and Cunha and all this stuff and Victor Osimhen.
He's amazing, man.
It's just so completely absurd. People dropping 60, 70 million on these guys who, frankly, are the department store mannequins compared to him.
I'm still in the camp. I'm distraught that Conte couldn't make Osimhen and Lukaku work together. I know it's all like political and it's all like he wanted to leave, his agent, this, that, and the other. But what a player, man.
But yeah, the playoffs, by the way, really tasty. You talk about Nigeria against Gabon. Gabon, who had the second highest points total, or had the highest points total of the second of the playoff teams. That's one. And Democratic Republic of Congo against Cameroon. Can you imagine a World Cup without Cameroon?
No.
It's like a World Cup without Germany.
Exactly.
We only hope. Turkey beat Georgia 4-1, gobble gobble, which is as good an excuse as any to ask you the existential question. Which young starlet would you take? Arda Güler or Kenan Yildiz?
Yildiz.
Ooh.
I love Yildiz. I mean, I've heard people say it could be Del Piero. I mean, whoa. You know, that's levels. Two fantastic young players, but I love the way Yildiz plays. Can play anywhere. He's got a trick. He's got balance. He's got skill. I mean, they're both fantastic players. Which I think it's one of them. It's like when you talk Messi and Ronaldo. Whichever one you want, I'll have the other one.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. There's not many countries in the world that have got two number 10s of that age.
Amazing.
And of that quality.
Saudi Arabia and Qatar have made it through to the World Cup, Gab, but UAE are furious.
Yeah, they were extremely furious to the point that, so they played Qatar. They lost 2-1. And apparently, like, people started throwing objects, they started throwing sandals, pelting things. They could get a points penalty now. So the way they did it, Asian qualifying has not literally a billion, but close to it, qualifying rounds. And so in the end, they had to determine which two teams were going to go to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Or sorry, which two teams were going to qualify automatically, and which ones were going to play off against each other to get into the Interconfederation playoffs, where you could play an African team or South American, you could play Bolivia or whatever, right? And UAE are very angry because it was two groups of three, and Saudi and Qatar, first of all, they got to play last, which is a big advantage in a group of three.
Yep.
Secondly, they got to host because they played them all in the same place. So one was played in Saudi Arabia, the other one was played in Qatar.
Yeah.
Saudi drew 0-0 with Iraq. They're through because they scored more goals. They have the same goal difference. Upshot of all this is Saudi and Qatar are there. Emirates and Iraq, they will play in the playoff, and then the winner gets to go into the Interconfederation playoffs. There is a lot of bad blood and a lot of conspiracy theories right now doing the rounds, and a lot of it's fueled by the Emirates, who feel they got screwed. Ballon d'Or means golden ball, so let's talk golden boy. That's right. For those who don't know, and by the way, Jules absolutely loves
I bet
this
he does.
award.
I bet he loves this.
I think he's a voter, actually. I think he's on the jury. That's maybe why he loves it. But basically, this award is given to the best under-21 player in Europe who plays in the top flight. And what I like about this award, you can only win it once. So don't give me this Lamine Yamal. He won it last year. Don't give me this Jude Bellingham. He won it, I think, 2 years ago. So
you can only win it once in its entirety.
Only win it once. Yeah. So Lamine Yamal not eligible to win this award.
That's bizarre.
Who you got? You have the list of candidates here. I'm not going to reel them all.
It's an amazing list. I mean, some of them I'm finding astounding they're on that list. But
like Rodrigo Mora, Nico Riley, Lemi Yoro.
Well, Leone's, I mean, I know he had a good season last year. He's played 1 hour for Liverpool and he's on there.
He didn't play very much last year either.
Yeah.
Okay.
The two there's a few standouts. I mean, Yildiz, obviously, but the two standouts to me are Desiree Doué and I think Kabasi at Barca. Kabasi to me seems, and I don't know this factually, but he seems like he's played the most games. He seems like he's been very regular, very consistent. I don't know. I mean, 1 year he's not had a really.
It wasn't great for Barcelona.
1 year he had a good season last season.
I mean, I think
Lewis
the other
Skelly.
realistic.
Have not played this season.
You can make a case for the season he had last year. Obviously, not playing as much.
Estevao's on the list. What a player!
Estevao, I think, has got to be one of the main candidates. I think Doué is going to win it because people favor like the Champions League and.
Well, this is my whole problem about the Ballon d'Or. It's like if you win the Champions League, it's like you're going to win like these competitions.
And look, Doué's been great since January.
Just
right?
who's been the best
Until
player?
He got injured. That would make it a lot more simple. I think Doué's got this, but. Arda Güler also in the mixed, as well as Dean Hutchison, who you don't seem to like.
No, I like, but I mean, how's he on the list? Had a good season last year at Bournemouth.
Players on the list. If Rodrigo Mora's on the list, surely Dean Hutchison.
I know. Maybe that list needs to be shortened to about 10. Then you go, that's a great list. The Women's Champions League rumbles on, Gab. Big wins for Barca and Chelsea.
Yeah, Barca without Eva Pajor, of course, she got injured. They go win away to Roma 4-0. Olympique Lyonnais, or Lyonnais, as now they've been rebranded. They bounce back, beating St. Polten 3-0, and Chelsea hammering Paris FC. Not Paris Saint-Germain, Paris FC 4-0. It's funny, there seems to be a real imbalance in the women's game between the really big teams and everybody else. Barcelona, as you know, I'm just so impressed with what their women's team is doing.
It's just like watching a different sport, isn't it, when you watch them?
It is. The Athletic surveyed 20 agents and asked them about the best and worst deals in the Premier League summer window. I know who the agents they surveyed picked and I've written it down here. Don't look.
Why are they asking agents?
Well, who better than an agent to ask?
You can ask a pundit. You could ask journalists.
I'm about to ask you, and you're a pundit and an ex-player, but agents know the ins and outs of the deals, and agents know how much clubs have to spend.
But you might have no clue about football. You might be savvy in your business sense and get a deal over the line, but you might not have a clue who's who.
Okay. All right. So let's do this. Don Hutchison versus The Athletic.
Go on then.
Best deal of the summer transfer window. Don, in your view?
In my view, it's Jack Grealish.
Jack Grealish finished second.
Second?
He got 20% of the vote.
Right.
The Athletic the agents interviewed anonymously by The Athletic went for Donnarumma, 25%.
That just backs up my point about agents then, because who's had the better season so far? Jack
Grealish or Donnarumma? Season. What was the better deal?
Well, Grealish, because it's a loan fee. He's not even signed. Which means you've got £100 million player on loan. Okay. What a deal that is.
First of all, I don't think even his mom thinks that Grealish is £100 million.
No. Factually, you've got £100 million player on loan. What a deal.
I'm surprised that we even argue this point, right? But Donnarumma's younger. Would you say Donnarumma is among the top 10 in the world in his position?
I don't think we're going on age anymore, are we? Are we not just going on the deal?
Who got the best deal?
Jack Grealish, Everton.
Right. So
I'm not
a year from now, Everton will presumably
I'm
need
not
to
bothered about a year from
okay.
now.
All right.
Ask the agents in a year's time.
All right, the worst deal of the transfer window, in your view.
I mean, the worst deal.
Yes, who squander their money in the worst possible way?
I think Man United with Šeško. When they had Højlund for the same amount of money, why not invest a year's time into him and coach him?
He costs more than Højlund, actually.
Well, £1 million more, something like that.
Yeah.
Because the knock-on effect is, Bruno Fernandes is now playing out of position. He could have been one of the number 10s, and Buomo could have been your number 9. Do you know what I mean? So why do they need Šeško?
I think Šeško has a tremendous upside. He didn't have a good season last year, but he's got a tremendous upside. I think that was their thinking. But yes, the athletics agents agree with you. 30% chose Šeško as the worst signing. 15% chose James Trafford as the second worst. I think
this
is people being kind of stupid.
That's very harsh.
Yeah, but I think what they get into is like, well, if you're going to sign Donnarumma, what was the point of spending all that money on
They
Trafford?
probably didn't know they were going to get Donnarumma. So
that's the thing. They locked him up early.
It's like Liverpool signing Isak and Ekitike.
It's still a ton of money to spend for a guy coming from the championship.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, right. It's a fun talking point.
Yeah. Inter Milan published their accounts, and Gab, they set a new Serie A record.
Yes, record revenue, 546 euros in revenue, eclipsing the mark held by Juventus when they got Cristiano Ronaldo. More important than that, and look, this revenue is down to the fact that they got to the Champions League final and they played in the Club World Cup. What is really encouraging about this, not to nerd out on you, is two things. One is they made a profit of 35 million euros, which I think it's a kind of a sign of the time with these owners. Oak Tree, they basically took over the club because they loaned money to the previous owner and then he wasn't able to pay it back. And that's how they took it over. So they're obviously going to run it as a business. It is a change for a club that's made loss after loss after loss every year. But what's nice is that they didn't really make a ton of money off of player trading, which is always kind of using the magic of amortization to kind of not cook the books, but let's say massage the books a little bit, season the books, if you will. They did this because, they got that huge chunk of revenue we talked, but their commercial side went up. They pack a massive crowd at the San Siro every time they play. They're back to the bare bones of how a club should be making money. And that's not something to be taken for granted and say, certainly not something you would take for granted for Inter over the years. So well done to Inter as a club, Pepe Marotta, and also Alessandro Antonello, who's now left, who's at Marseille. Former Premier League referee Mark Clattenburg, a.k.a. Clats, talked about his worst ever officiating performance, and it was one he said he really regrets. It was in the Merseyside derby.
Oh, that's a shock.
And you, of course, played for both clubs.
That's a shock.
In 2007, it was a game he sent off two Everton players, Phil Neville and I think Tony Hibbert, the right back.
Yep.
Denied them a penalty.
Shock.
And then Liverpool sneakily came from behind with that very sneaky Dirk Kuyt to win 2-1. Does it make you feel any better when referees apologize for... No, I mean, he didn't say he was biased.
Klats, you're a disgrace.
No, just for a bad performance.
Listen, I've got a similar story when Graham
18
Poll...
years later, he apologizes.
Right, well, Graham Poll owes me one then, because I think he put it in his book, so he sort of half apologised. Merseyside derby, Goodison Park, 0-0, 5 seconds to go, right? Sander Westerveld's got a free kick. He kicks it, hits me on the backside, trickles over the line, and as it's going over the line, he blew for full time. Graham Poll blew for full time as the ball was on the line, going over the line, and he's blew for full time. And we've looked up the clock, and there was about 30, 40 seconds left on the main clock at Goodison. So he's put it in his book, Graham Poll. Klats needs to do the same. I like your apology. You're a disgrace.
Better late than never. Funny how both incidents ended up hurting the Blue House.
Exactly.
The People's Club.
Exactly.
The Toffee Men.
Exactly.